Picture this: a cocky judge, Walter Grayson, smirking down at a 19-year-old kid in a baggy jacket. Jalen Dawson, grand theft auto, resisting arrest. The gavel's ready to drop. "This ain't debate club, kid," Grayson laughs, thinking he's got another punk pinned. The courtroom's cracking up. Everyone's sure Jalen's done. But hold up. This clueless teen starts tearing the case apart like a damn legal ninja. What nobody knows? He's a genius in disguise, and he's about to flip this trial into a total knockout. Crooked cops, buried evidence, a twist that'll leave you speechless. It's all coming. This is The Boy Who Broke the Bench, a wild ride where one kid takes on the whole system. Smash that like button if you're ready, hit subscribe for more epic takedowns, and buckle up, 'cause this story's gonna blow your mind. The Los Angeles courthouse was a sweatbox that afternoon, the kind of heat that sticks to your skin like bad news. Sunlight punched through dusty windows, slashing gold streaks across the beat-up wooden floor, lighting up rows of restless spectators. Feet stomped a jittery beat, whispers crackled like static on a busted radio. Every eye zeroed in on Jalen Dawson, 19, a wiry kid drowning in a second-hand jacket 2 sizes too big, hands shoved deep into the frayed pockets of his jeans. He stood at the defendant's table, chin tilted just enough to catch the glare, dark eyes flickering with something dangerous, something nobody clocked yet. Up on the bench, Judge Walter Grayson sprawled like a king who'd stopped caring, silver hair a tangled mess, his smirk sharp as a razor. He dangled his gavel like a toy, peering over smudged glasses with a look that said he'd already written the ending. "This ain't debate club, kid," he drawled, voice thick with mockery, cutting through the room like a dull blade through butter. "You think you're some big-shot lawyer or what?" The gallery ate it up. Laughter bounced off the walls, the bailiff snickering, the stenographer hiding a grin behind her keyboard. Even the suits in the back, scribbling for tomorrow's headlines, joined the roast. Jalen didn't blink, didn't crack. Grand theft auto, a slick Audi A6 swiped from a gas station lot, and resisting arrest after a midnight chase through downtown's neon jungle had him in the hot seat. Prosecutor Mitchell Carrington strutted up, all crisp vest and million-dollar tie, flashing a grin like he was selling used cars on late-night TV. "Your Honor," he crooned, smooth as velvet, "this punk's a thief who bolted till the cops dragged him back. Caught red-handed." He tossed a wink at the jury, 12 strangers perched in their box, ready to lap up his story. Grayson twirled his gavel like a bored cowboy spinning a pistol. "Got anything to say, Dawson?" he threw out, half yawning, expecting a whimper or a blank stare, another nobody to stamp guilty and toss aside. But Jalen stepped forward, boots scuffing the floor loud enough to hush the chuckles. He locked eyes with Grayson, steady and cold, a spark flaring in the dark. "I'm running my own defense, Your Honor," he said, voice low and tight, like a wire pulled to snapping. "And I'm about to turn this whole damn circus upside down." The room blew up. Laughter roared louder. Carrington snorted so hard he nearly choked. The bailiff's jaw dropped an inch. Grayson's smirk twitched, just a flicker, caught off guard by the steel in Jalen's words. Inside, Jalen was a live grenade. Rage at a system that had already buried his brother Marcus under lies. A flicker of fear he might not pull this off, and a promise carved in his bones. "They don't get me, too." A reporter in the back leaned into his mic, voice hushed but buzzing. "This kid's either crazy or a freaking legend. Either way, we're strapped in for one hell of a ride." The courtroom's buzz dropped to a low hum as Jalen Dawson stood there. Boots planted, Grayson's taunt, "This ain't debate club," still ringing like a cheap shot. The gallery's snickers bounced off him like rain on concrete. He'd built armor thicker than their laughs. Behind those dark eyes, South Central burned, streets baked under a ruthless sun, chain-link fences rattling in the wind, sirens screaming like a pack of wolves on the hunt. Jalen grew up where hope was a sucker's bet, a place that chewed up dreams and spat out shells. But he wasn't empty, not yet. His mom, Denise, was the heartbeat of it all. Paralegal by night, fighter by blood, she'd drag home after midnight, heels clicking on cracked linoleum, eyes sunken but sharp. Jalen was 10, hunched on their sagging couch when she'd unload, tales of prosecutors twisting truth, judges shrugging at justice, Cases rigged before they even started. He didn't just listen. He swallowed it whole, a kid starving for something to grip onto. Then Marcus got snatched, and everything went to hell. Big brother Marcus was Jalen's son, tall, loud, with a laugh that could punch through the gloom. At 17, he got nabbed for a carjacking he didn't touch. Wrong corner, wrong skin, wrong luck. Denise clawed through files, begging lawyers to care, but the system didn't flinch. Jalen was 12, shivering outside LA County lockup under a gray dawn, watching Marcus hauled off in cuffs. "I'll get you out," he shouted, voice raw, lungs burning, but a cop slammed him back, sneering. "Pipe down, kid." Jalen hit the gravel, knees bloody, staring as Marcus vanished behind steel doors. 2 years later, a prison guard's call ripped through. Marcus, shanked in a dumb fight, dead at 19. Denise froze, staring at the wall till the sun bled red. Jalen didn't cry. He broke. On that cold kitchen floor, he swore to Marcus's ghost, "They pay. Every damn one." That's when the books hit. Denise's law tomes, coffee-stained, pages curling, stacked up under a buzzing bulb. Jalen tore through them like a man possessed, case law, loopholes, the system's dirty playbook. By 14, he could shred a trial in his head, pacing his room while the block snored. It wasn't school smarts, it was war. Every statute was a shield, every argument a knife. But under the steel, a kid bled, alone, pissed as hell, terrified he'd choke when it counted. Marcus's voice haunted him, low and steady. "Don't let 'em win, little man." Back in the courtroom, that fire roared under Jalen's cool shell. Grayson didn't know it yet, but he wasn't facing some punk. He was staring down a loaded barrel. Up in the gallery, Denise sat, nails chewed to stubs, whispering, "Come on, baby," her breath hitching. She'd lost Marcus to lazy cops and crooked deals. Jalen was her last stand, his hands flexed, itching to swing. He'd watched the system bury his brother on shortcuts and shrugs. Now, with Carrington's slick grin and Grayson's gavel dangling, it was time to hit back. "All right, hotshot," Grayson drawled, leaning forward, his smirk half-cocked. "You're defending yourself? Where was Officer Ruiz that night?" The gallery hushed, waiting for the kid to trip. Jalen stepped up, boots thumping the floor like a war drum, his voice cutting clean. "Let's find out, Your Honor. GPS don't play favorites. Cops do. Game's on." Carrington's grin twitched, just a flicker. Grayson's eyebrows crept up. Inside, Jalen's heart slammed, Marcus's blood pumping through every word. This wasn't a trial, it was a reckoning, and he'd been training for it since the day they took his brother away. The Los Angeles courtroom was a live wire sparking, the air thick with heat and static. Sunlight sliced through the grimy windows, glinting off Judge Walter Grayson's gavel as he tapped it against the bench, his smirk hanging on by a thread. The gallery was a restless beast, boots scuffing, whispers buzzing like flies on a corpse, all waiting for Jalen Dawson to crash and burn. The kid stood at the defendant's table, lean frame steady, hands finally free of his pockets, drumming a slow, deliberate beat on the scarred wood. He'd just tossed out a live grenade. Where was Officer Ruiz that night? And the silence that followed crackled like a fuse burning down. Grayson leaned forward, squinting over his glasses, voice rough as gravel. "You're spinning yarns, Dawson. What's this crap about Ruiz?" It was the tone of a man who'd crushed 100 punks under that gavel, expecting Jalen to fold like a cheap lawn chair. But Jalen wasn't built to bend. Not after South Central, not after Marcus. He'd been running trials in his head since he was a kid, tearing apart imaginary suits while the world slept. He took a breath, cool as a sniper lining up a shot, and locked eyes with the judge. "No crap, Your Honor, just facts. If Ruiz saw me driving that Audi, his GPS will prove it. Cops play dirty, data don't." The gallery sucked in a collective gasp, murmurs rippling like a stone hitting water. Prosecutor Mitchell Carrington bolted upright, tie swinging like a noose, his polished grin twisting into a scowl. "This is bullshit," he barked, voice spiking high enough to shatter glass. "Officer Daniel Ruiz caught this punk behind the wheel. Fingerprints on the steering wheel, chased through downtown, Game over. He waved a stack of papers like a preacher with a Bible, strutting toward the jury box with a strut that screamed victory. Ladies and gentlemen, he stole that Audi A6 and ran till the law hauled him in. Open and shut. The jury shifted, some nodding, others frowning, 12 pairs of eyes sizing up the story. Grayson twirled his gavel, boredom creeping back. Sounds tight, counselor. Let's wrap it. I've got a tea time at 3. The gallery snickered, right on cue. But Jalen didn't budge. He stepped forward, boots thumping the floor, raising a hand like he was stopping a freight train. Hold up, Your Honor. If it's so tight, let's test it. I moved to pull Ruiz's GPS logs from that night. If he was there, it'll show. If not, he let the word hang, sharp as a razor, and turned to Carrington. What's got you sweating, man? Truth too messy for that slick tie? The room blew up. Laughter, gasps, a few hoots from the cheap seats. Carrington's face flushed red, veins bulging like road maps. You don't get to trash an officer's word, you little... Jalen cut him off with a shrug, cool as ice. I'm not trashing his word, I'm checking his where. Big difference. Unless you're saying Ruiz moonlights as a ghost, busting me from 3 miles away. A juror snorted, hiding it with a cough. Grayson muttered under his breath. Kid's got guts, his smirk twitching into something else. Curiosity, maybe doubt. He leaned back, eyeing Carrington. Counselor, you got a problem with those logs? Carrington froze, just a heartbeat too long. The jury clocked it. The gallery clocked it. Jalen damn sure clocked it. No objections, Your Honor. He finally spat, voice tight as a drumhead. Grayson scribbled a note, nodding. Fine, we'll check. What's next? Jalen pivoted to the jury, dark eyes sweeping over them like a preacher about to drop gospel. Next up, those fingerprints. Yeah, mine were on the wheel. Prosecution says that nails me. But listen, I touched that car hours before it got jacked. Carrington spun around, papers flapping. What the hell? Jalen ignored him, pacing now, voice steady but humming with juice. Picture this. Me and my crew roll into 7-Eleven. Late night, grabbing chips and soda. That Audi's parked out front, door unlocked. Owner's dumb move, right? I lean on it, pop the door open, curious as hell. My bad, sure. But I didn't drive it, didn't steal it, didn't even sit in it. Walked off with my boys. He stopped, facing the jury dead on. You ever try on a jacket at the store, shove your hands in the pockets, then hang it back? Some dude swipes it later. You the thief? 'Cause that's the garbage they're peddling here. The gallery went graveyard quiet. A woman in the third row whispered, He's got a point. Up in the back, Denise bit her lip, hands clenched, mouthing, Come on, baby, her eyes wet with hope and dread. Carrington scrambled, flipping notes like a man drowning. Cute tale, Dawson, but you were nabbed near that car after the chase. Jalen shook his head, slow and sharp. Wrong. Blocks away, walking home, snacks in hand. Cops saw a black kid in the wrong zip code and jumped. That's not evidence. That's a hunch with a badge. Grayson rubbed his jaw, the golf game fading fast. You got proof for this little bedtime story, kid? Jalen slapped a crumpled receipt on the table. 7-Eleven, time stamped 11:47 p.m. This puts me in the store before the theft. 3 buddies will swear I never left until the cops rolled up. Where's your proof I drove, counselor? Carrington's hands shook, paper slipping. We've got Ruiz's word. Ruiz who wasn't even there? Jalen snapped, voice a whip crack. And where's your forensic guy? No subpoena, no cross-exam, chain of custody's a joke. You gonna lock me up on half-assed work like that? The room was a powder keg now, jury muttering, gallery humming, Denise's breath catching in the back. Grayson slammed his gavel, more reflex than control. Enough! Sit down, both of you! But nobody sat. Carrington was sweating buckets, the jury trading looks, the gallery leaning in like this was the fight of the year. Inside, Jalen's heart hammered, Marcus's ghost screaming, Now, little man, now! He'd seen the system coast on lies, watched it bury his brother under shrugs. Not today. Grayson sighed, pinching his nose, but his eyes locked on Jalen. sharp and new. All right, Dawson, you've got my damn attention. What's your next play? Jalen's lips twitched, not a smile, more a predator baring teeth. Next, Your Honor, I want that 7-Eleven security tape. It'll show who really took that car and why they pinned me instead. Carrington's eyes darted to the door, a flicker of panic. Grayson muttered, "Hell of a kid," half to himself. Jalen caught it. The board was set, and he was about to flip it hard. The Los Angeles courtroom was a damn volcano, heat pulsing, ready to blow. The old projector screen flickered to life, casting a grainy glow that cut through the haze of sweat and tension. Every eye, jury, gallery, Grayson, locked on it like it was Judgment Day. Jalen Dawson stood at the defendant's table, chest tight, that crumpled 7-Eleven receipt still fisted in one hand. He'd called for the security tape, and the flicker in Mitchell Carrington's eyes, a quick dart to the door, told him he'd hit gold. The prosecutor slumped in his seat, tie crooked, face slick with panic. The air buzzed like a swarm of hornets, and Jalen was about to kick the nest. Grayson cleared his throat, voice like a rusted hinge. "You're banking on this tape, Dawson. Don't waste my time." The gallery held its breath, a sea of wide eyes and clenched fists. Jalen nodded, slow and sure, staring Carrington down. "It's not just about saving me, Your Honor. It's about who really jacked that Audi and why they needed me to take the fall." Carrington shot up, slamming the table so hard his paper scattered. "This is a stunt. He's grasping at straws, desperate little punk spinning lies." His voice cracked, shrill and shaky, and the jury blinked, smelling blood. Jalen didn't flinch. "Then let's roll it and see who's lying. 7-Eleven's got eyes. Front lot, time-stamped. I've got Raymond Whitaker, the owner, ready to swear he saw the real thief. Spoiler, ain't me." He turned to the jury, voice low and charged, cutting through the chaos. "You want to know why they're dodging this? 'Cause the truth's a sledgehammer, and it's about to smash their whole damn house of cards." The room erupted. Shouts, gasps, a guy in the back hollering, "Play the tape!" Grayson banged his gavel, 3 sharp cracks that barely dented the noise. "Order! Counselor, you got a problem here?" Carrington's face was a mess of sweat and fury. "Your Honor, this is irrelevant. He was caught near the scene." Jalen sliced in, sharp as a switchblade. "Blocks away, walking home. You keep skipping that part. What's on that tape got you shaking like a leaf?" Carrington's eyes flicked to the exit again. A dead giveaway, and Jalen pounced. "I've got Whitaker's statement, filed with the cops, buried by your office. He saw a white kid, skinny, blonde, hop in that Audi and burn rubber. I don't fit the bill, so why me?" The gallery went nuts. Screams, curses, a woman yelling, "No way!" Grayson slammed his gavel again, but his stare pinned Carrington like a bug. "Counselor, you better talk fast," Carrington stammered, papers slipping. "Whitaker was drunk, unreliable." Jalen didn't let him breathe. He yanked a folded affidavit from his jacket, voice booming. "Drunk? Here's his signed word, stone sober. He saw it clear as day. Cops knew. So why'd they frame me?" He paused, letting it sink, then dropped the hammer. "I'll tell you why." He slapped a grainy still on the table, a 7-Eleven frame, Ethan Carrington sliding into the Audi like it was his prom date. Meet Ethan Carrington, folks. Prosecutor's golden boy, blonde, skinny, white, caught red-handed. But wait, he tossed another photo, blurry but brutal. Ethan at a crash site, blood on his shirt, a wrecked stolen car behind him. Last month hit and run, kid dead. Ethan ditched the ride and Daddy hushed it. They needed a scapegoat, me, to bury that too. The courtroom detonated, people jumping up, yelling, phones flashing. Reporters bolted for the doors, shouting into mics. Carrington staggered, face gray as ash. "That's a lie, fabricated." Jalen stepped closer, voice low and lethal. "Lie? Tape's coming. Subpoenaed this morning. Cops locked it in evidence because you pulled strings. Pin it on the black kid from the wrong block. Clean sweep, right? Except I don't sweep easy." Denise, up in the gallery, gasped, hands over her mouth, tears streaking. Grayson roared, "Sit down, both of you!" But Jalen stayed up, chest heaving. The jury gaped, piecing it together. Carrington clutched the table, trembling. "This is slander!" Jalen cut him off, relentless. "Slander's talk. This is proof. Ethan's prints are on that car. I'd bet my life. And you buried Whitaker to save your kid from a murder rap. That's your justice?" Inside, Jalen burned, Marcus's blood screaming through every vein, the system's weight crushing his ribs. Not this time, he thought, fists balled. He'd seen this play before. Cops coasting, lies winning. Not today. The gallery was a madhouse, reporters streaming live, chaos spilling out. Grayson's face hardened, but his eyes flicked to Jalen with something new. Shock, maybe respect. "Dawson," he growled, "you'd better have that tape, or I'll bury you myself." Jalen nodded, calm as a grave. "It's here, and when it rolls, you'll see who's buried." The bailiff burst in, USB drive in hand. "Tape's up, Your Honor." Grayson snatched it, voice tight. "Plug it in. Now." The room froze, breath held as the screen hummed. Jalen's pulse slammed, rage, grief, a flicker of doubt. What if it's not enough? But he'd seen the stills, heard Whitaker's voice through a crackly call his buddy patched. This was real. It wasn't just his ass on the line. It was Marcus. Every kid railroaded, every lie swallowed. "For you, bro," he thought, staring Carrington down. The prosecutor's mask was cracking, and Jalen was about to shatter it wide open. The Los Angeles courtroom was a pressure cooker on the brink, the screen's grainy light slicing through the chaos like a blade. The 7-11 tape rolled, 11:49 p.m. Ethan Carrington, blonde, cocky, all swagger, slid into the Audi A6, tires screaming as he peeled out. Jalen Dawson was a shadow in the corner, popping the door earlier, then bouncing with his crew, a bag of chips in hand. No chase, no theft, just a kid walking away. The gallery exploded, shouts ricocheting, a woman screaming, "That's not him!" Jurors jolted upright, jaws dropping, eyes darting to Mitchell Carrington, who sank into his chair, face gray as a tombstone. The air crackled, electric and raw. Jalen stood at the defendant's table, chest pounding, fists clenched under the wood. His voice cut through the roar, steady but fierce. "That's your guy, Your Honor. Ethan Carrington. Prosecutor's kid, not me." He spun to the jury, dark eyes blazing. "They pinned this on me 'cause I was easy. Black kid, wrong block, no suit to save me. But this ain't just about one frame. It's a system that picks its losers before the first word's spoken." The room hushed, his words landing like bricks on pavement. Carrington lurched up, voice a desperate wail. "This is rigged. That tape's fake, planted." But Grayson wasn't biting. His gavel hit the bench so hard the wood splintered, chunks flying. "Sit your ass down, counselor, or you're out in cuffs." His glare shifted to Jalen, hard but peeling back, something flickering behind the steel. "You've got more, Dawson?" Jalen nodded, slapping Whitaker's affidavit down, then the crash photo. Ethan, bloody, fleeing a wreck. Raymond Whitaker saw Ethan take the car. Cops buried it. And this? Hit and run last month. Kid dead. Ethan's mess hushed by Daddy's pull. I was the fall guy for a murder rap. The gallery lost it. Screams, curses, phones flashing like a storm. Up in the back, Denise clutched the pew, tears streaking, whispering, "You did it, baby." Carrington clawed at his papers, trembling. "Lies, all lies." Grayson leaned forward, voice low and jagged. "Ruiz's GPS just came back. He was 3 miles out when the chase went down. Your case is a house of cards and a hurricane, counselor." The jury stared at Carrington, disgust curling their lips. Jalen stepped up, boots loud on the floor. "This isn't just me, Your Honor. It's my brother Marcus. Locked up, bled out in a cell for nothing, 'cause nobody dug deeper. It's every kid they railroad 'cause it's easy. Every lie they swallow 'cause it's quick. How many more? How many tapes get torched? How many lives get trashed just to keep the machine humming?" His voice cracked, raw and real, and the room felt it. Grief, fury, a kid who'd carried a ghost too long. Grayson sat back, staring at Jalen like he'd just seen a damn miracle. The old man's smirk was gone, replaced by something heavy, shame, maybe awe. He exhaled, slow and rough. 20 years on this bench, I thought I'd seen it all. But you, Dawson, he shook his head, gavel limp in his hand. Case dismissed, charges dropped, clean slate. A beat of stunned silence. Then the place blew. Cheers, sobs, the gallery surging like a wave breaking free. Jalen didn't move, didn't grin. The weight lifted off his shoulders, but his heart stayed heavy. For you, Marcus, he thought, eyes stinging, the ghost's whisper fading to peace. Grayson wasn't done. One more thing, he growled, voice thick. Get your ass to law school, kid. We need you up here tearing this shit apart. The gallery roared again, a few clapping, Denise's quiet sob cutting through. Jalen's lips twitched, a flicker of a smile. He'd locked a full ride to USC Law months ago. This wasn't the end. It was the damn spark. Outside, the courthouse steps were a circus, cameras flashing, mics jabbing like spears. Jalen, how'd you pull it off? What's next? He yanked his hoodie up, dodging the swarm, until Denise grabbed him at the bottom. Her hands shook, eyes wet, pulling him into a hug that crushed the air out of him. You scared me to death, boy, she choked, voice breaking. But you did what I couldn't. For Marcus, for us. Jalen hugged back, tight, the fire in him softening. Had to, Ma. Couldn't let him win again. Across the street, Grayson watched from his car, tie loose, hands gripping the wheel till his knuckles whitened. He'd coasted too long, signed off on too many quick calls. Jalen hadn't just won, he'd shoved a mirror in Grayson's face, and the reflection stung. Hell of a kid, he muttered, peeling out, the weight of 2 decades heavier than ever. Jalen broke free, walking alone toward USC Law's spires, looming tall under a bruising sunset. His shadow stretched long, boots kicking dust. This wasn't just a W, it was a wake-up call. The system's not busted, he'd say later, voice steady on a cracked mic. It's rigged, built to pick who falls, who dies. Marcus didn't have a shot because nobody cared. I did this for him, for every name they erase. The lesson? It don't fix itself. You fight, you dig, you bleed for it, because justice ain't a gift. It's a war. The city growled behind him. Sirens, horns, life grinding on. Jalen stopped, staring up at the law school's brick fortress. I'm coming, he whispered, to Marcus, to the machine, to every kid still trapped. One case down. The war was just heating up. Jalen Dawson's boots crunched gravel as he walked from the courthouse, the LA skyline sprawling behind him, glass towers glinting, neon scars pulsing under a sky bleeding red. The roar of cameras and cheers faded to a dull hum, but his pulse still thumped like a war drum. He'd won. Case smashed, Carrington exposed. A jagged crack ripped through the system's steel hide. But standing there, hoodie shadowing his face, his shadow stretching long, he knew this wasn't the finish line. It was a flare shot high, a beacon for Marcus, for every kid the machine had chewed up and spat out. This isn't just Jalen's fight, it's ours. Ever had a cop size you up for breathing wrong? Ever lost someone to a lie nobody bothered to check? That's the system grinding its gears, picking who falls, who fades. Jalen clawed his way out with grit in a stack of borrowed books. But what about the ones who can't? The ones with no tape, no voice, no shot? That's on us. He lit the spark. Don't let it fizzle. Smash that like button if Jalen's fire hit you where it hurts. Share this if you felt that sting. Blast it to your crew, your cousin, the guy at the gas station. Make it loud, make it spread, because the more who see this, the harder it is for them to bury the next Marcus. Subscribe if you're done watching the machine roll over us. Next time, we're cracking the big dogs wide open. Drop a comment. Who's your Marcus? What's the lie you're fighting? Let's turn this into a damn uprising. Jalen stopped at USC Law's edge, spires stabbing the dusk like a dare. We're not done, bro, he whispered to the wind. For Marcus, for the erased, for the kid in cuffs right now. The system's a beast, but it bleeds when you hit it hard. The lesson? It don't care till you make it. Fight, dig, bleed. Jalen's just warming up and he's calling you in. You with him? Let's burn this game down. Together.